Hi there, I'd like to talk to you today about our 4-way mating nucleus colonies. These are made up with a medium depth box divided into 4 with partitions that are built right into the box. We've been working with these for the last couple years to try them out as an alternative to our styrofoam mini mating nucleus colonies that you may have seen in some of our other videos. There are some advantages and disadvantages of these larger units. Starting with the disadvantages, they're bigger, heavier to move around, a bit more expensive, and when you're going through them to find queens, it's a little bit slower because they are a little bit larger. That said, we quite like these nukes and we find they work really well. Their chief advantage is that they're more robust than the mini mating nucleus colonies. Last summer we had poor weather, we had a lot of rain, cool temperatures, and these units outperformed because they had more bees, more food, and they were able to ride through those periods of poorer weather. Let's have a look at see how we load them up in the spring. Around the beginning of May, we start loading these up because by the middle of May we'll be raising queens and we'll have cells ready to go in them. So we want several weeks to get everything set in place here. Starting from the bottom here, we have our single brood chamber hive. Then we put a queen excluder on that, and then we take the bottom board off the 4-way nuke and install it above the queen excluder. So bees have free access up into all 4 of those chambers. Above that, we have a hive top feeder that we fill with sugar syrup. What we're accomplishing by with this setup is we get the bees to move up, access the sugar syrup, they come back down, they build comb on the foundation in these frames, fill that comb up with sugar syrup, and we are loading bees up into these boxes at the same time. When we're ready to go with our queen cells, we then take these units off and we move them to the location that we're going to have our mating occur in. So they get built in one bee yard and moved to another bee yard. Just before we move these colonies to another yard, we install this little strip of queen pheromone. It's called temp queen. So we put one of these strips on one frame in each of the 4 nucleus colonies, and that helps hold the bees in these boxes when they get to their new location. So then we put the bottom board underneath the 4-way nuke and secure it to the nuke with screws. This bottom board is made up in a way that we have partitions down here that correspond with the partitions in the box, and that seals things up really well, which is really key, because if there's any way a queen can get at another queen, they will, and then they'll start eliminating each other. So we tape the entrances shut on all of them, so when that's screwed on to the bottom of the 4-way nuke, there's no way the bees can get out. There is, however, ventilation holes here, one on each side of each nuke, so they have cross ventilation, and that way they're able to keep cool and breathe while we're moving them from one location to another. Let's go open up one of these units and see what they look like inside. Here we are in the mating yard. We moved the nukes in, set them up on cinder blocks, and then what we do is we put a queen cell into each of the 4 units. We wait till we get to the new location to put the queen cells in because we don't want those queens damaged during the transit. Early the following morning, we open up the entrance by cutting a little slot in there. Bees chew their way out through that, do their orientation flights, and settle down in their new home. We're going to have a look inside here just to see where we position the queen cells and where that temp queen is positioned as well. Here's the partition dividing 2 of the 4 nukes. There's frame number 1, frame number 2. The queen cell goes in between frame number 1, frame number 2. Right beside it is the queen pheromone. And our goal in positioning those two close together is to have the bees clustering around that pheromone and thereby incubating the cell properly. Just close that back up. Whenever we're closing the canvas up, we push it down like that to the partitions to seal it up well. This is the same canvas we use for our regular inner covers. It's number 8 duck or 18-ounce canvas. Works really good to seal things up. We're going to have a look now to see how we manage our colonies through the summer. So 2 weeks ago we installed queen cells into each of these 4 units. And now we're coming back. The queens should be mated by now and laying eggs. Taylor and Stephanie are going to go through these units to find and cage the queens. It's one of our favorite jobs, right? So we'll take the lid off, set it on the ground. We leave it right side up in the same orientation, just in case we need to write notes on the lids that correspond to the nucs that we're going through. So we peel that inner cover back. You can see how well it's sealed down there with propolis. And then we just set that on the ground. Here you can see the cell bases. We put those down in between the frames here, so if they sit up on top of the frame, they prevent that canvas from sealing the along the partition there. So they have to fit down in between those frames there. The first thing Taylor and Stephanie are going to do is loosen up those cell bases and try to take them out with the cell intact so we can see if our queen has hatched out. Now, if we know our queen is hatched out there, you can see that one, the hole has been opened up, so we throw that over our shoulder. This one kind of fell apart, but looking down in, I can see that it did hatch out. So that's good. Now they'll go through those and find the queens. Just looking at the strength of these colonies, they're relatively uniform, but once we've found and caged the queens, removed all the queens from all 4 units, that's an opportunity for us to equalize the 4 units. And having 4 open at a time like that is a real advantage. You can shift a frame from here to there, or from there to there. If one of these doesn't have a mated queen, it won't have any eggs, so its population will dwindle. So what we would do is switch a frame over that has eggs and larvae on it to the one that was queenless, and that'll help keep that population up. They also accept the queen better if they have brood inside the colony. If one of them happens to be a little bit weaker, we would just transfer a frame from a stronger one over. So we fix these up as we're going along and finding the queens. Once the queens are found in them all, we then reinstall a new cell into each of the 4 units, close it back up, and come back in 2 weeks' time to repeat this process. At the end of the summer, usually for us that's about middle of August, we're done with mating queens. So the last round of queens come out, we let the brood hatch out, and then we shake the bees out of these boxes and store the comb for the following year. We don't find it's worth trying to winter these small units, and it's so easy to fill them up with bees in the spring that there's not really much incentive to try and winter them over. This is something we find that really works well for us. I think it's easy to fit in at any kind of scale for other beekeepers, so we highly recommend these mating nucs. Thanks for watching. See you another time.